It was common that clients would get very attached to the girls, especially if they had experience in cybering. I knew some were just Googling porn stars and sending their pictures, but I knew some were sending real pictures of themselves.
You might remember, back in September, I did a video on RuneScape's cyber sex market. Now, of course, the first question I had to ask is this where business happens? She told me for high-level players, yeah, they usually just do it in their house. From that video, we got a look into how this market operates. And she said, it's usually the person that gets paid that sends the explicit photos and stuff, and usually faces aren't shown. The different categories of people that participate in these services. The third category, they're the provocative ones. The different services that are actually being offered and for how much. Here's what she ended up telling me. Explicit videos and explicit photos go for about 100 million RuneScape 3 GP. In the insider perspective given by Madame Caramel. So I went ahead and flashed her my new shiny 1 billion GP in a trade window, hoping that this would somehow insinuate the secretive service offerings to begin. The video did well. I was overall pleased with the response, plenty of good ratings, many nice comments. Thank you, by the way. But there was too many comments about my interview style for me to ignore. Check out what this guy wrote. A little advice on the whole investigative journalism thing. The questions that you're asking are far too confrontational. Make it seem as though you're interested as a customer instead of a police officer. There's two reasons for this. The first is that you don't want to raise their guard. This will make getting answers easier. The second is that this will often make them talk more about what they know and less about what you want to hear. The idea is to just get them explaining things that they know. Because when you do this, you'll learn things that you wouldn't have even thought to ask in the first place. He went on to say that this is known as participant observation. So I Googled it. I learned that it's a qualitative research method, read plenty of articles about it, and I implemented what I learned into this interview. And the result was astounding. The answers to the questions I asked are some of the best that I've heard in a long time. I think you're going to really enjoy this interview. But how did I get this interview in the first place? Well, another result of this video, besides the good ratings and the advice, was that I had many people involved in the cybering community come forth to me offering to give more information on the subject. And I think many of those people actually seen my reply to one of these comments offering advice about how I planned on doing a part 2. Now, out of the people that came to me, the person I chose because they had a deep involvement with the cybering community a couple of years ago. Madame Caramel had mentioned that there used to be cybering clans that dominated this market just a few years ago, and the person that I interviewed for this actually used to run one known as Red Hot Paradise. Unfortunately, she didn't want to come on mic to do the interview because of privacy concerns. This is quite normal when I do these interviews. People don't want to use their real voice. So we just did the interview over text chat on Discord. Now I know you guys hate when I read these text interviews myself in my monotone ass voice, so I reached out to my fan base. I found the one girl that watches my videos. I swear to God on analytics it shows my channel as having a 99.7% male viewer base. And she was willing to read the responses I got from the person I interviewed out loud as if she was the one being interviewed. And I think this has really heightened the entertainment value of the video. Now, before we get into the meat and potatoes, just really quick, my girlfriend and I are creating RuneScape figurines. They're made of hard plastic, hand painted. We've got a Jad, just released Tecton. There's a baby moped on there. We've even got RuneScape themed air fresheners and bottles of runes. Lots of cool stuff. Link is in the description and you can get 20% off right now with the coupon code BLACK. If you're thinking about this for Christmas, do it sooner than later because they are hand painted. They take about a week or more to ship out, depending on how many orders we have. It's just us. So sooner is better than later to make sure it gets there in time. Okay, without further ado, let's get into the interview. Okay, so to start, I wonder, can you give us a bit of a background on yourself and the clan?
Um, well, I started playing RuneScape when I was probably 10 or 11, like 2008, 2009-ish, back when it was more playing and less scamming. Although I did partake in some of those looking for a BF, 25K, and I'll be your girlfriend scams. Maybe in 2010 or 2011, I started making friends with some of the girls in Lumbridge that did roleplay in cyber. I told them I had a lot of guys message me wanting to have sex, but I obviously didn't do it, so I offered to bring them in, customers, and I'd like to take a cut of whatever they charge. Some didn't charge any money, and some did. So I told people that messaged me that I'd set them up with a friend and made up prices. Back then, it was like 50K for 10 minutes of cyber and 250K for an hour. I take half the money and gave the girl the other half. Some were actually girls, and some were very open to me that they were not. When clans became a thing, I started one and had my girls join it. I gave different ranks based on ratings from customers, how much money they brought in, and the other rankings for what they were willing to do. Shemales were in there with lower ranks as well. A few of my girls sold pictures. They definitely got ranked higher than the others because pics went for more money. I knew some were just Googling porn stars and sending their pictures, but I knew some were sending real pictures of themselves. When the clan grew bigger, things worked better. I was even able to charge more. Also, to minimize scams, I'd wait until after the cyber session was over before giving the girls their money. Before the system, I would give the girl her money up front, and if a girl scammed the guy, I would give my cut to another girl to do the session with him. This meant I came out with no money, but at least we still had a happy customer. I also encouraged customers to go through me instead of the girls directly to avoid scams. Another clan opened up and tried stealing competition, but I still did well, and my girls were happy. The clan was great for a year or two. We were making bank. I quit for a while around 2013 to 2014 until a few years later, the clan was kind of dead when I got back, and I haven't played as much since. I came back in 2016 for a few months and had the clan back up to like 150 active members as opposed to the 400 back in 2012, 2013-ish. But I was 18 and going to post-secondary, so I quit again. I haven't played much since then.
You know, I made a community post on my channel about the questions people wanted to know for this part 2. And a big question that a lot of people upvoted was if there was any precautions for avoiding underage players.
There weren't any precautions for avoiding underage players, really, because we didn't care all that much if they were underage, as most of the time it was just cybering. Of course, the girls that sold pictures were aware of the laws. I'm sure there were underage people offering services, but if I knew they were super young, I would not invite them to the clan.
Okay. Another question that people had is if there was any horror stories you can tell us about. Crazy people, stalkers, etc.
Um, I've personally had some clients that wouldn't take no for an answer and tried to find out personal information about me from some of my friends on there. I don't know of any horror stories from my girls, though. None other than clients annoying them on multiple accounts after being ignored. It was common that clients would get very attached to the girls, especially if they had experience in cybering. Some girls had more knowledge on different kinks, which the clients appreciated. Although some girls have gotten interested in clients and became friends with them when they weren't buying from them.
Some other people were curious if you ever feared jail time for doing this.
Um, I don't fear jail time because as far as I'm aware, there's nothing illegal about charging people fake money to introduce them to friends on a game. And there's also nothing illegal about 12-year-olds cybering. They're just typing words in their computers.
Another thing that I'd like to know is if there was any real-world meetups between any of these players.
I'm not aware of any real-world meetups that have happened. I have had clients ask, but there was no way in hell I would ask or expect any of the girls to do that. It would be way too dangerous. The clan operated by myself, finding customers, seeing what their interests were and how long they wanted, and coming up with a price for them. The girls would then cyber, followed by getting their share of the money. Back then, I usually charged like 500K to 1 mil per session. That time, maybe 10 to 30 sales per day in average, I think. It was pretty good. At the peak, the cost was 200K per 10 minutes or 1 mil per hour.
Someone else on YouTube was curious if there was multiple cybering clans, and if so, did they work together or against each other?
Well, there were multiple cybering clans, but they were against each other. Some clans were off on the side doing their own thing, but there was definitely another one that tried stealing girls.
I wonder, was there any requirements to actually join the clan?
There were no requirements. Girls could join whether they wanted to make money or not. I gave girls that didn't sell a low rank. They would just cyber with fellow girls or hang out, whatever they wanted to do.
That's interesting. The next question that I had is if there was any rules that clan members had to follow, and if so, what were they?
The only rules were bring your customers to me instead of handling them yourself because I could usually get more money than they could. However, when I was offline, they could handle their own sales.
People also wanted to know what was it like leading this clan?
I think I've always been a fairly good leader and I'm pretty good at making deals. I saw that it was a way to make money, so I just went with it. The girls respected me and I kind of felt like a boss when guys would have to deal with me.
What about the atmosphere of the clan? What did it feel like to actually take part?
The atmosphere was actually very fun. The girls were mostly all good friends, aside from the few that kept mostly to themselves and just wanted to make money. We would always have fun and talk in the clan between customers. We were like a group of friends that pretty much just worked for me.
Another question that people were interested in is why RuneScape?
Um, I only did it on RuneScape because it started with people asking me to cyber while I was playing the game, so I figured I'd help other people get money from it.
Another question that many people were interested in is how you personally justified the fact that other people were pretending to be and selling photos of people that weren't actually them.
Well, I didn't really care about the girls using fake photos to sell. The customers wanted to see tits, so they received tit pics. I didn't really care whose they were, and to be honest, neither did they.
And the last question that I have is why did it eventually go downhill?
The clan only seemed to go downhill because I unexpectedly quit for a few years. With no real leader left, the girls went other ways. Some went on their own, and some went to the competing clans.
And with that, albeit abruptly, we were at the very last interview question. Did you guys enjoy me using somebody else to narrate the actual text interview I did? I think it made it more interesting than me just reading off the answers. Also, thank you all so much in advance for 40,000 subscribers. I'm sure we're going to hit it in the next few days. That is astounding. I remember when my channel was at 100. And I've got plenty more content coming in the future for you guys. There's another video in this abuse series that will be out definitely before Christmas. Also, don't forget about those cute little RuneScape figurines. Again, the link is in the description. You can get 20% off right now. This is kind of really the last call for ordering and having it arrive before Christmas. Again, they're handmade to order, so it's got to happen a little bit sooner than later, unfortunately. Until next time, guys, love, peace, and chicken grease.